Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted. it's been a day, man. How about you, Danny?
Yeah, it's definitely been a day. Been a week, in fact. Already. It's only Tuesday.
Oh, now you're making my head hurt worse than it already is.
You all right?
Well, it's one of those nights where after a full day of working at the brewery and coming home and then cooking dinner, and my wife is at Bible study that I'm also trying to get the kitchen cleaned up and get kids in showers and to bed, and here we are.
It's definitely a full day.
Very much so. And it's interesting taking on the life of like a job outside of the home and then coming in and still doing a lot of the same things that I was doing prior to just being like solely a stay-at-home dad. And I find it that it's quite poignant that this is kind of where things are, because our guest tonight is definitely in that same boat. So I was
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, he's Joe has gone through a lot of the same things that I'm dealing with, and he and I bounce things off of each other as far as ranting and venting and whatnot to each other. So, which is good, you get it off your chest. So, yeah. So that's kind of where things are. So, like, I'm still in the process of getting my oldest to bed. He's slowly taking his time dealing with his shower and whatnot, but I got one down, one's in bed, so I'll take 50%
Yeah, I was going
for
to say, you're halfway there.
yeah, exactly.
Living on a prayer.
That's how I feel right there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, how was the week?
I think being in management is a little bit easier in some ways, and it's a little more difficult in some ways.
I would
Just
agree.
the kids being in school and activities after school, and them forgetting things at home, and or whatever it might be. It seems like they're home as much as they ever were, but I think with four kids, it probably just happens. Only if one of them does it a day, it's still a lot going on. So
Yeah.
it's been all right though. We've had some school, I shouldn't say school, but some responsibility issues with getting work done for school and projects done, and it's been an ongoing thing for the last let's see, 5, 6, 7 years,
Yeah.
that I go to my kids and I say, did you do your homework? Do you have any ongoing projects? Do you have any long-term projects we need to be doing a little bit on every day? And with my older kids, especially because they are um, um, gifted kids, which means maybe they're a little more intelligent, but they're definitely more emotional.
Yes.
They
Got one of
respond
those.
very, very poorly to busy work.
Yes.
So I have to ask them regularly, do you have any busy work that is not getting done that you need to be doing, that you need to turn in or something like that? I said, look, I will find whatever I need to motivate you. I mean, if it's because like with my oldest, it was really easy. He said, okay, you get all A's, bring all your grades up to an A, and we'll buy you a cheeseburger.
Oh, that's right. I
He
remember
was
that.
all over it, right?
Yeah.
Well, now it's my 13-year-old, and he's kind of just slipping cogs there. So it's just been a little of that, a little of everything. And then I think the biggest part, which I don't really want to talk about too much, but I probably will more than I want to, um, is my 10-year-old has, we know he probably has ADHD. We haven't had him diagnosed. That's still in the works,
Yeah.
but he's possibly on the spectrum a little.
Okay.
And he has control issues with his emotions. You really can't. I've talked about this before, but basically there's a yellow zone, I mean, a green zone where everything's good, you can communicate, everything's going great. And there's a red zone where you're in crisis and you can't communicate, your emotions are controlling you. In the middle is that yellow zone.
Yep.
And it's kind of that, my emotions are starting to build up. And with myself also, but with a lot of kids with ADHD and they're on the spectrum, there's no yellow zone. It's just nothing. You go from everything's fine to you're way over there. And he has had some issues getting a little physical in the past. And, we have a constant refrain of keep yourself to yourself. That's rule number one. And we don't express our emotions with our physical self. That's just hands down. And we don't do that, know. And they were playing a game about grabbing people's hats at the bus stop. And he told one of the kids to stop grabbing his hat. So all the kids started grabbing his hat. And he told one of the kids, I'll throw you on the ground if you don't stop. And they didn't stop. And so he grabbed one of them and threw him on the ground. And
he warned him.
They weren't hurt. They weren't hurt. There was nothing. Everything was okay. But the parents because they go to the bus stop across the street were understandably, I think, upset. We were definitely upset. But to see your little kid get knocked on the ground and I think she's 7, maybe. So it's really, really, especially with your first child, it's just really just really hits you hard when you see them get hurt for any reason. And so, long story, a little shorter, at least, they said that he can no longer be at the bus stop with them. He has to wait at our house until the bus shows up, and then he can run over and get on the bus. And that's fine.
Because they were taking his hat?
Well, his response was inappropriate. I mean, he threw this kid on the ground. He didn't accidentally knock him down. He physically grabbed them and threw them down. And he's bigger than they are. And, there are rules, there are consequences, I think would be a better way to put it. And he knows you're not allowed to touch people. You're not allowed to show your emotions physically. That's not how we operate. And he understands. But my heart's kind of broken. It's been really tearing me up that I send one of my kids and runs across the street and they go over and play tag and climb trees and kick the ball around and have all this fun. And my 10-year-old has to stand in our driveway and just wait for the bus. And it just, I don't know, I'm big hearted about things. And it just really breaks my heart. It just does. It's not wrong. It is what it is. If you'd seen the video of him throwing that kid on the ground like I did, you would probably understand a lot better. So that's been really kind of pushing me, but and it ties in again for tonight. It really helped me to understand a little bit more the issues that people have with kids that are more fully on the spectrum, where we used to call, we're autistic, let's say, kids with special needs that go into more emotional and mental issues. Dealing with anything can be difficult. So I wish I didn't learn that lesson, because again, it breaks my heart. But the reality of it is he's likely there, and this is something we need to watch out for and learn about, get educated about.
So, I don't know if I'm quite on the same page with that, but I mean, one parenting style towards is, they don't always have to be the same. I don't know. I just from what you're saying, and I wasn't there, but I guess for me, like I would lean more on the side of at what point is it considered bullying towards your son what these kids were doing, and how he's being penalized for. Yes, he stood up for himself because they didn't agree. I mean, maybe it wasn't the right action, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Think about if he'd hit somebody. They were just trying to grab his hat and playing around. He got upset and punched somebody.
I mean, did he ask for it back?
His hat, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he's saying, don't touch my hat, they touch his hat and he punches them.
They entered his space after he said, don't do it. I mean, to me, that's standing up for yourself. I don't see that the other way. I think that's for me, like that. This is a whole nother can of worms, but honestly, like for me, like I feel like that's one of the things that is kind of gone sideways with society in a way is that like you can say no to somebody and the other person can still do something in a bullying fashion. And when the person who's being bullied stands up for themselves, they're in the wrong, even though like they, you know, they tried to say, hey, I don't like this. I don't want you to do this. The other person still does it. So then there's a, natural consequence out of it. But then the person who delivered the consequence is the one that's in trouble. And it's, I don't know, to me that I just don't see how the other side of that, like there's absolutely no reprimanding for that other
Yeah,
person type of deal.
I get what you're
So
saying. I understand it, but I think if you'd seen the situation, and I'm his dad,
I
like
get it. No,
it's
yeah.
it's an overreact. He overreacted. He, it wasn't like they were yanking his hat off and running away with it or throwing it in the gutter or anything like that. They were just reaching up and touching it, and that's not right. And you are correct in the parents should talk to those kids as well.
Mhm.
But it wasn't enough provocation, to grab somebody and throw them on the ground like that. It just wasn't. It was an overreaction. It was too, and it's the difference between, somebody's, with kids, it's always interesting, pushing you around or whatever. And as an adult, yeah, I know exactly what to do. Little kids, they don't always know what to do, even if we've taught them what to do and trained them what to do and told them what to do. So maybe he could have gone and talked to the mom and said, hey, they keep grabbing my hat. Maybe he could have come back to the house and told me. Lots of different things that he could have done. But
were the parents there when it was happening?
yeah, at least the mom was. They were inside. They have a camera out there. So I don't know if they were watching it live, but they definitely had the recording.
So it was caught on like a Ring camera or whatever.
Yeah, some security camera of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just
Interesting. Okay.
It really is. It was an overreaction by him because he's very emotional, and he doesn't have that lag between green and red, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that honestly, that's definitely a sad situation for sure. I think that the fact that we've got Joe coming on tonight, we can definitely, I'm sure we're going to discuss some aspects of what it's like to be a parent, and having,
he knows more than me for sure.
He's definitely a well-learned man, that's for sure. So we're going to talk with Joe Saladino here in a moment about him working for the nonprofit Dads M.O.V.E, and then also we're going to talk with him about a little bit of the beer share coming up too at HomeDadCon. So we'll be right back with Joe Saladino. Become a member of the National At-Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support, connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At-Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today. Hey, welcome back. And like we said, we have Joe Saladino with us. You guys all know him. Come on. And if you're new to the show, well, by the end of the show, you'll know who Joe is. He's both a great guy to know and also could be your worst nightmare depending on how things are. But for the most part, he's awesome. I don't know. I'm just
I don't
talking.
know. I think I've ever even had an inkling that that might be true.
I mean, if he starts following you
Dangerous.
around to like take pictures of you, I don't know.
Are
Like,
you a closet badass, Joe? Is that it?
I'll
You
take
have
it.
3 black belts and 1 brown,
There you go.
and then a cream color to wear in the summer. I don't know.
I have a certain set of skills. Let's just put it that way.
he does have a
Nice.
certain set of skills.
Nice.
That is for sure.
Joe, I do want to say I told, just mentioned to my wife, that you were coming on the show, and she knew who you were. So,
Yes. As long as the wives know, I don't really care otherwise. Like,
yeah, they
as
are
long as
more
the
important. For sure.
wives know and are happy with it, I'm happy.
Mhm.
All I said was I was talking to Joe tonight, and she goes, "I bet you're talking about beer, aren't you?" I was like, "Well,
not exclusively."
I was like,
but
not completely, but I'm sure it's going to be a topic that gets discussed at some point."
it happens. It happens for sure.
It doesn't have to happen, guys.
Oh, okay.
We can get past this.
Well, I had a package show up today in the mail, and it was from one Mr. Paul Gordon, and I
Already jealous.
I called my wife up and jokingly said, "Leave that box alone," and she said, I "Don't worry." She's like, "I'm not going to drink all of your bourbon." I was like, "How do you know it's bourbon?" She's like, "It's a box from Paul. What do you think? You think I don't know what comes comes that
We
way?" I
all
was like,
know.
"All right." Yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, she knows who you guys are. That's when it comes to talking to different people. So, but yeah, man, you've been a busy guy, Joe, since the last time we talked to you, because you've traveled some. You picked up a new job.
Yeah. When was the last time we talked?
It was before HomeDadCon in Phoenix because we were talking about the beer share.
Ooh,
So
I
yeah.
thought it was after HomeDadCon in Phoenix. I thought,
or was it after? I
yeah,
don't
because
even
we
know.
got together about something.
Just for
Doesn't
a
matter.
quick.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
No, so it's been a while. Yeah.
As the kids
I've
say,
slept since
it's
then.
been a
I
hot
don't
minute.
Yeah. What do you want to know about? Where should I go with this?
I mean,
Your new job.
yeah,
New
First
job.
and foremost.
We are
And
curious
new
about the new job.
podcast.
Yeah,
too.
definitely. New podcast. Well, which goes with the job. So perfect.
Mhm.
So new job I actually have because of HomeDadCon. Let's just put that right out there.
that's
Mhm.
really cool in itself, honestly. Like,
Dude.
well,
So
Career development.
hey,
seriously.
That's what HomeDadCon is about.
Seriously. So in September of last year, so this school year, my kiddo started full-time kindergarten. And because of many reasons, I was starting to think about looking at full-time work or half-time or something, but something more than photography on the weekends, which has been my gig. And what's funny is I was expecting 5 or 6 months of rejection letters or no callbacks or, hey, everything was great, but you need to work on your resume, your cover letter's crap, those type of things. But so I go to HomeDadCon Phoenix, have an amazing time. Folks, if you haven't been to HomeDadCon, go. That's all you need to know. Just go. But so I go, have a blast. I did a photography presentation, which was a lot of fun. It was too hot out, but still a lot of fun. We won't have that problem in Milwaukee.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can go anywhere in Arizona. Well, anywhere in Phoenix and not have it be too hot.
Oh yeah, no, it was roasting, but had a good time. And then I had skipped maybe 1 or 2 activities to get extra sleep. That happens. It's
which
good
we
self-care.
always say, yeah, which we all say is okay to do when you go to HomeDadCon.
Right. And so I did and enjoyed myself sleeping. So the last activity comes up, and it's a board, a panel. There we go. Looking for the word. It's a panel talking about kids with special needs and IEPs and stuff like that. And I had just had a knockdown, drag out IEP meeting for my kid with the anticipation of more coming. So when I had the schedule initially, I was like, I got to go to that one. Well, that was interfering with my last section of sleep time. And so I'm looking, I'm like, oh, right. Okay. The next thing's coming up in 15 minutes.
I think I'm just going to stay in. And I'm looking at the schedule again. And I'm like, I am okay. And then I see that. I'm like, oh man, that's the most relevant thing in the entire day.
Right.
Or the entire 2 days. It's the most relevant thing. So I put my shoes on begrudgingly and I go downstairs. Go in and there's a panel and I know the 3 dads that are on the panel. So I'm like, I'll just talk to them off to the side who, I already know them. I think I have their email addresses. And then I see 2 guys that I don't know. And it's like, oh, okay. Here's the pros. All right. I don't know them. And then before I can leave, it fills in behind me. So now I'm stuck. I'm gonna be noticed if I leave. So I stay for it. And as I'm listening, a lot of great info, a lot of great thoughts coming through. But as I'm listening to the pros that were both from Dads M.O.V.E, the important person being Nelson Rascon, my now boss. As they're talking, I'm like, wait a second, that sounds like Washington State, because they hadn't said where they were from, just their organization, and they keep talking, and I'm like, that's Tacoma. Tacoma's like 40 minutes north of me, maybe 30 on a good day with a decent car. Like, you got to be kidding me. So afterwards, I go up and, yep, they're from right around here. And they do peer support work, or they're going into peer support work at the time. But they work with dads who have kids with special needs and other needs, do trainings and retreats and all this stuff. So I go up and I tell Nelson a quick story about the last IEP meeting I had and how they lied to me about something. Kid you not, dude goes like this. They can't do. I mean, he gets
getting up out of his chair.
pissed.
Oh boy.
he goes full peer on me, and and we're running out of time. The closing, everybody's got to move so they can clean out the room for closing and stuff. So I'm like, I know they can't. He's like, oh, it's like, if you want to talk about it more, here's my card. He gives me his card, and there's like, and I told him that I have a therapy background. He's like, and we'll be hiring soon. Gives me his card. I put my card in the back of my phone with the little case thing, right? In the very back where you can't see it. And I forget about it, because how many cards do you get from people that are like, oh, we're doing this or we're doing that, or yeah, 1 out of 1,000,000 times you actually connect. Most times I end up connecting because I got somebody's picture and I end up tagging them. But otherwise, you don't connect on that stuff. And we're be hiring soon. Yeah, right. 2-3 years and not me. So I just put it in the back of my mind, forget about it. Then I start getting, I think I got 3 different messages from Dads Connected saying, did you see they posted that job? Did you see they posted that job? Did you see they posted that job? Okay. So I look at the job. I apply on Facebook. That was a first.
I was going to say, I've never really heard of that, but okay.
No, I applied on Facebook, and like over half of it was thrown into the application already from my contact info. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks, I was hired.
Nice. There you go.
So,
and what job
and it's
did
the
they?
and it's the only job I applied for. So all of that craziness didn't happen. They hired me as a peer support specialist. So essentially what I do is I help dads who are raising kids with developmental needs and other special needs, like navigate the school system, navigate healthcare systems, with a combination of my lived experience and what I know and the resources that I have on hand or I'm connected with. And then, just a lot of support, a lot of talking stuff through, meeting them where they're at, no judgment. It's very different from therapy because I'm not suggesting stuff for them to do. And I'm not, trying to figure out clinically what's going on. That's not, most times they've got a therapist. That's not my role. My role is to support them and their goals and what they want to get accomplished. And hopefully have some supportive words to get them through some really difficult stuff sometimes.
That's
Wow.
cool.
That's
I
awesome.
do
man.
want to ask you because again, if you're in it or if you're involved in it, you know all the acronyms. But if you're not,
Right.
or you're just getting into it, so IEP you mentioned a couple times, and IEP
Oh,
meetings,
sorry.
which we
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
want to talk
yeah.
about.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Sorry. And when we talk about the podcast, we'll have an IEP episode coming out within hopefully about a month or two. So IEP is called an individualized education plan. And it's for when you have a diagnosis for your kiddo and you have a team at the school that you work and figure out the best ways to help your kid and while they're at school. It is, and you come up with a plan and you sign it, and it's legally binding. Like it's a big deal. It's a real big deal. A big contract, and it can get confusing for anybody. It can be manipulated by people. It can, I mean, you can go through tons of training and still not know stuff. It's a
And
wild world.
from what I've heard, the team at the school is not on your side. Am I correct in that?
So funny thing about that, I went in, I have family in education and family who has worked psych in education. And so I was told they're on your side. They want the best for your kid, and to go in positive. So I did. My experience so far has not been the most positive. That's not everyone's experience. And you will find people who are on your side. You will find, I can't say that everyone on the other side of that table isn't on my side. I know at least one or two fully are. So my son does have an advocate in the school. I'm not going to say more than that to, to not out anyone, but for sure. But schools have budgets and agendas and opinions and etc. So far, my personal experience is if they can push you around a little bit to get what they want, they will. That is my personal experience so far. I'm lucky, again, to have family that has experience. So I have a family member that comes with me that knows about, I don't know, 2 decades more knowledge about IEPs than I do.
That's a good tool to have in your back pocket.
It has been invaluable. I owe them so much, but they love my son, so they're willing to come out and help. And so it's weird. It's slowly becoming a passion of mine to go and help other parents that are dealing with the same. Yeah. And my boss's reaction to my experience that first meeting, I'm understanding that more and more. Because as you fight for your kid, and as you feel like you're coming up against roadblock after roadblock that don't seem to be needed, that frustration builds, not only for your kid, but just the system in general. Also, that table, the technical reason you have so many people on the other side is because they need to have everyone there that could possibly have something to say that is valid, right? So you could have a psych there, you could have, a para there, you've got someone taking notes, et cetera, et cetera. But it is very intimidating, and that can be used for good or for evil, in my opinion. So having someone on your side, also for those that have never done an IEP meeting, or maybe you have and you don't know this, you can bring anyone you want on your side. If it's just for support, if it's somebody that works with your kid outside the school, that is your right. You can bring anybody. They just sign a little release and they're good to go.
Wow.
So I could bring an army if I wanted to, but that would look a little weird, and everybody has to take an hour in the middle of the day off, which is a little difficult.
Often a bit difficult. And it seems like when you talk about the intimidation factor, I mean, I don't expect this is something that I will have to deal with personally. We'll see. I mean, things might develop, but the reality of it is this is a day to day for a lot of parents, and going to that. I know that the school is, I don't want to say ready, but they're kind of prepared.
It's their profession.
They're right. Exactly. And going in as like, if I had to, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm getting into. I wouldn't be intimidated personally just because I'm just, it's just, all right, we'll do what we do. I'm sure they're here to help me, and I will be right or wrong. We'll see. But the ability to get with somebody and to have somebody come with you, even you talked about being peer support for your job at Dad's Move. And I wanted just to talk a little bit more about why or how to get into touch with you guys, or how to get you involved with something that, like, I'm in Wisconsin and you're in no, Oregon, no,
He's in Washington.
Washington State.
My
Washington
brain.
State.
We'll just edit that out. Danny knows what he's talking about. I swear he's not an idiot. But you're in Washington, so you're, other side of the country, basically.
Right.
How's the availability or the access to Dad's Move, and how would we get in touch with you if we need it?
So for peer support, those type of services, that's in Washington State. And we're in about 7-9 counties, something like that. And to reach out, best would be the website, dadsmove.org. Also, we're on Facebook and Instagram. You can reach out those ways. We're working on our training system. So we'll have new trainings dropping pretty soon here. Those will be on the website. And then we have a monthly, and I will get this to you. I think it's the 4th Thursday every month, something like that. That could be wrong. I will find the right one. But we have a hopefully growing bigger support group where we all pop on, and I've got some experience, but folks like Nelson, folks like my boss have an amazing amount of experience and knowledge, and a lot of it, every state's a little different, but a lot of it is the same across state lines because a lot of it's federally regulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the knowledge that he has, it's nationwide. It can go anywhere.
I wanted to ask, so the organization is called Dad's Move. I noticed that it's got some like dad, or like a M.O.V.E.
Don't ask me.
What's the acronym, man?
It's not written in front of me. I'm not going to remember it.
Mentoring others through voices of experience.
Thank you, Nelson.
Because that's
the only person that ever knows it.
Oh, you have it.
Because I have it in front of you. Yeah, well, because I pulled up the website. I'm not going to try to sit here and talk about
Danny's
it.
my
fact
checker.
Yeah.
Man, Danny's so awesome. Thank you, Dan.
No, but I love it too, because Brock and I talk about it all the time, that two things that we think all dads should have. One is a men's group, which this is, and then two is a mentor, someone that you can go to and ask them, hey, and in this case, so much, because I know for me, just the what I would say really are kind of minor emotional issues that my kid has. It's still new. I don't know what I'm doing. And he reacts in ways that I understand because I react those ways, and that's how I grew up. But like, I see how off-putting it is to my wife. His mom's looking at him like, I don't understand why, what's going on? And I'm like, this is nothing, right? But having the ability to go to somebody and say, okay, I'm going into this. I don't even know what IEP stands for, but they said I need one so that I can get my kid to go to school. I don't even, so the ability to go to the support group, and it's virtual, I assume. So log in
and we've got folks from all over the states that'll show up. And to what you're saying, it's very interesting because I found out my son's on the spectrum, and we knew something, most parents, there's something going on. Finally got him diagnosed, and I was on one of these support groups with our org, and before anybody else showed up, there was another peer that had just gotten hired that was on, and his son's on the spectrum and is 2 years younger than mine. I hadn't been reaching out for support outside of work and I hadn't really been looking for anything, but we were talking and it blew my mind how similar things were. Even though our kids are on different parts of the point of the spectrum, there's so many things where it was just understood and we didn't have to explain any further. And we could share all of these experiences and to get that validation of, oh yeah, no, I've been through that. My kid does exactly that. And you think no other kid does that. You know, that's not true or possible because there's a lot of kids out there, but to have another parent be like, oh yeah, and that sucks, doesn't it? Yes. Like, you don't have to fix it. Just tell me that you understand it and it sucks too. And that works for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
definitely.
I love too that it's because it's not for necessarily at-home dads. It's just for fathers. And the
Right.
mission statement on it, and again, got the website, so I'm doing these things not by memory, but the mission is to strengthen the father's role in raising children with behavioral health needs. To strengthen the father's role, I think, is one of the best ways to put what fatherhood is becoming
Yeah.
as we move forward. You know, it's
Sure.
our involvement to be an involved dad, even if we're, you know, job outside the home, working in the home, working from home, whatever it might be. The development of what it means to have a father in the family, and especially in this case where it's children that need more care than another child might, or need, you know, we need to put a ramp in or what have you, something small, something big, but the ability for the fathers to be involved in that, because I think all of us, at least at home dads, have run into, you know, the school only calls your wife or your partner, you know, the school only, you know, well, is your wife coming? What? Like to the doctor, you know,
Right.
you brought the kids today. How neat. And I'm like, yeah, I will bring the kids every time. This is my thing. This is my profession, you know, and we're, you know, and we're getting better, but so we're just kind of shunted off to the side. And especially when you look at uh, uh, a board of people that are getting together to do an IEP with you and what their expectation is, you know, and then, oh, well, there's, what's he doing here? Kind of feel. I
Oh,
mean, I would think that would be there.
yeah. Well, and Nelson, I mean, that's really the whole point. We also work with moms and we work with non-binary folk, but really trying to strengthen the dad role. And the guys that started the org, they have the lived experience of working with their kids with, you know, with special needs, and they were seeing a lack of men in all of these roles. You walk in and the school is usually mostly women that are dealing with the stuff. And they were really like, well, no, men need to be doing this more. And Nelson has a great story. I won't say the entire thing because I can't remember it. And it's his story to tell. But he has a great story about sitting in an IEP meeting with his wife, and they keep asking his wife stuff. And she's like, he's the expert on this. Like, he's the one that knows all this stuff. Why do you keep, you know, looking at me and asking me directly? But that's definitely the assumption going on. Also pretty funny. One of the first times I ever got a call instead of my wife, and it was right after I started this job. So I had to tell them, unfortunately, I'm at work. I was literally out of my office. And so I had to tell them, sorry, I'm at work. Please call my wife.
Did that feel really good?
It was hilarious. I laughed my butt off.
Okay.
I joyously told my wife about that. She's like, they said they tried to call you. I'm like, isn't that hilarious? They finally tried to call me.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's I mean, there's definitely lots of dads who are probably like, I wish that was me. They'd call me first.
It was seriously one of 2 times in like 5 years that doctors, schools, whatever, like, no, I got it all the time. And I mean, I was full-time stay at home. My wife, my son's mom, she was full-time working the entire time. We'd put it down like, call dad, call dad, call dad. Nope.
Yeah. I've literally have gone to the school, and because I'd call my wife and I would show up and I'm like, hey, I think you're supposed to call me first. Can we double check, make sure that's what we're doing? Because my wife is not, I mean, you're just interrupting everything. She's in a meeting or on the phone or in a
Yep.
meeting and on the phone. I mean, she just doesn't have the time to do this. And the lady was like, oh yeah, oh, there is a note here. Yeah. I guess I should have read that. And I'm like,
So
why
just
do we
like
put notes in
IEPs,
it?
yeah, just like
it was in
IEPs, people
Egyptian.
don't read what they're supposed to read. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
It was in hieroglyphics, man. She couldn't read it.
Right.
Couldn't translate it.
Wrong
Yeah.
language.
That's what it was. So,
And you
yeah, go ahead.
mentioned training. You said there's some training programs that are in development, and who is that training for? And what would it be? Do you know what kind of offerings will be coming up?
I don't know specifically because things are in flux. Things are very in flux. But they'll be for dads. I think there's a couple that'll be relevant for professionals as well. There's a lot coming down the line.
Okay.
The org really ramped stuff up, got a lot of grants, did a lot of hiring in the last couple of months.
Awesome.
And so we went from just a few of us driving around in our boss's truck trying to talk to resources in town to a pretty substantial crew of folks. Yeah, you'll just have to have me back on to talk about the training when they pop up.
Heard something, and it could be wrong. It's happened before, and it could be just an idea that didn't quite float yet, but that it might be training for other dad organizations. Potential to help other organizations understand how to deal with these things and how to teach their members or dads to, handle these things as well. So
I'm not specifically on the exact trainings, so I don't want to.
No, just a rumor, just something I heard.
Let's keep it a rumor. It'll be a surprise.
Bird.
Hey, I'm curious. So speaking of rumors and hearing things, like I'm curious. Are you or any of your folks gonna make an appearance at Milwaukee on the behalf of Dads M.O.V.E?
What's happening in Milwaukee?
HomeDadCon.
Oh, that right. Yeah, no. So Nelson and I are presenting.
Cool.
We're presenting on the power of advocacy and and how to cultivate kind of the skills you already have. Super excited. I'm super excited. I love presenting at HomeDadCon. It's going to be my fourth time, something like that. So I'm super excited. And Nelson had a blast last year. He had such a good time at HomeDadCon. So and it'll be fun. We haven't presented together yet, so it'll be a good time to see how we work together.
That's cool.
In that way. Otherwise, we work together great. So I expect it'll be a good time.
Yeah. Well, and he was really enjoying like the time like in the evenings at the beer share, it seemed like.
Yeah, I think that might have helped me get my job, but don't quote me on that.
It's a nice sweeten the deal type thing.
Sometimes it is about who you know. There is an amount of, hey, I'm already familiar with this guy.
Right.
I know who they are. I know what I'm getting into with them. And yeah,
I made a good impression.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is funny that it's at the beer share, but it is that thing. That is a good impression.
It wasn't totally there. I met him at the panel.
No, I know. Yeah.
Talked to him otherwise. My God.
I just like the
fact
that
get me in trouble.
Yeah, the panel. Sure. The panel. Yeah.
I already didn't know the acronym. I'm going to get quizzed on that now. Thanks, Brock.
It's all good, Nelson. He can owe me a drink for putting you in the hot seat there on that one.
I'm gonna get it tattooed. Jeez.
But I will say this though, like it's really cool to see sort of this kind of new element arising at the convention with the ability to have networking opportunities like that. Because I think in the past, like there was not that was not so much something that like probably dads even considered a lot of times, was that there was that ability to maybe have some sort of connection with presenters and be able to do something with them possibly. And so it's really neat to see, just how that all evolved for you and where you're, what you're doing, where it's going. It's exciting, and for me, like that's something that I just love to see within the convention itself, is just this growth of new things within the confines of an annual convention that then takes off for the rest of the year.
Well, I think it's nice to have support wise. You have waves of dads that come through.
Yeah.
And I know we all know a few folks that they were really big when we got in, and then their kids got a little older, and they weren't. Some people are on the path; they're not going to work a full-time job again. I have friends outside of the org and inside of the org.
Danny, where's that badge of honor?
Man, I am retiring
Right.
from this freaking job. I'm going to do this until
Awesome.
I retire.
Awesome.
Like 3 years.
Some of us can't do that. That's not in the cards for some of us. And so you see these waves kind of like
earlier.
of like 5-10 people or something. Yeah. But you see these waves of dads. And now that I've been in long enough, like I've became part of that another wave where it's these people that were really involved, but then their kids get a little older, budgets get a little tighter, life happens. And it's like, well, now it's kind of time to go back to work. And I think before it just people kind of did it on their own and it just kind of dissipated. People just kind of left. Whereas now we're actually talking about it. And I wonder if as an org, if it wasn't a little sort of taboo at some point. Like, even though it was said once a stay-at-home dad, always a stay-at-home, like you're in it, we're brotherhood, et cetera, but it was still kind of like, where the hell is blank?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone now. Oh, he died? No. He got a job. Close enough. Okay. Yeah.
But I will say this though, in that idea of, the stay-at-home dad going into the workforce or whatever, there are quite a few that still try to find ways to come back to the convention. And I think that, that is just a testament of spouses seeing the impact of sending their, kids' dads off to this convention for a weekend to be able to come back and, be just either recharged with connecting with some friends and learning a few things, or actually like getting some more resources for just being a father, that kind of thing. Like that was the one thing that when I was like, all right, I want to take on a new job, but at the same time I don't want to give up going to the convention and having that time away from the house, away from the kids, being able to recharge and all that. And Corey was very much like, yeah, like just make sure that your work knows about it, and I don't have an issue with it. Like we'll figure out the schedule just like we normally do. And so it's worked out really well to where I don't foresee me missing one here, hopefully for a while.
Good.
Well, when I got hired, and I had like a 2-week buffer before I started, and with my therapy background, I do things as intentionally as I can, and I think through stuff, and I meditate on what's going to change. This transitions suck for everybody, so and me included. So I was like, okay, what's going to be different? I'm like, oh man, I'm going to miss HomeDadCon. Like it was a legit mourning process in my
I remember
mind.
that
like,
conversation we had about that. Yeah.
You're like, you going? And I'm like, dude, I got a full-time job now. I'm gonna be working. What are you talking about? And but eventually talking with Nelson, he was like, well, let's put in for a presentation, and if you get it, let's go. And so I still get to be a part of it. I still get to participate. And it's been a great community over the last this will be my 6th convention. So it's been a great community over all this time. And I mean, it's not like I would lose anybody not going to the con. Like that's if you're going to lose people, that's your fault because you're not staying connected. I'm not going to lose anybody, but the experience in person, all of that time, just the dads, like you can't replicate it. It's a
Mhm.
pretty amazing thing. So I'm glad I'm not missing it.
Yeah, me too. For both of you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know, and we talk about, and it's really been part of my focus for the convention and trying to find speakers and do things and panels and all that is career development. Making it an actual parenting conference about career development, and whether that's developing your career as an at-home parent, or if it's developing, well, this is what I can do until this point, and then when I need to move to something else, or I want to move to something else, that transition, which is, as you both know, can be very scary and very intimidating. But having things like that as part of the convention, I think is showing up more and more because of the growth of the convention, where it's becoming more than, 25 years ago, I don't think we would recognize it today. And I definitely don't think those guys, if they jumped forward in time, would really understand what it's developed into. And I always talk to everybody, how great the convention is. Everybody needs to go. Everybody needs to go. But it is actually because of legitimate, useful information, skills. I mean, we've got, this is something small, but we have someone coming in to teach us how to sew on a button and on patches, and maybe how to use your sewing machine. Now, for some of us, that's something we have never done, or maybe we did like in 5th grade or something. But if you think about the number of times you run into a knee that's torn out, or the seam is ripped in the crotch of the pants, or whatever it might be, the elbows of every shirt, it seems like for my kids, how do I put a patch on? I guess they're just going to wear it till it falls off, and then it'll be like they're playing the mud clothes or something. I'm not going to try to put a patch on it. I don't know how.
Right.
Well,
I
learn it
think it's
now.
great that like especially last year, the nail painting.
Mhm.
I went to that, took my camera, some of my favorite photos from the con was from that. But I think a lot of the remaining taboos that we still had, that even stay-at-home dads inside as a community still had, are falling away to where all of these things can be talked about, and not only talked about, but yeah, we're going to do it too.
Yeah.
Like, and owning it. Like, it's not a wife or a husband thing. It's not a mom or a dad thing. It's a parent thing. And we're here to parent, and buying all new clothes because everything's wearing out is expensive. If I can fix it, that's manly to fix it. Let's fix it.
Manly.
If you have to put, you know what I mean.
Yeah, a little sexism is fine every once in a while.
Okay. Whew, okay, good. Just a little bit though. I don't want to throw away too much.
I heard about that, the sewing thing. For me, like, I've been sewing stuff since I was in junior high, honestly, and like, it's
hey, I'm an expert at cross stitch. I was doing that in like 2nd grade. I get it. We're all a little different.
Who took home ec?
Oh yeah,
take home ec?
Hey,
totally took home ec.
Whatever they're not calling it home ec now, but whatever that is. Yeah.
My undergrad was family and consumer sciences with a specialty in family studies. That's grown up home ec.
Grown up home ec. Yeah.
There you go.
Home ec, professional home ec.
But I feel like I use my sewing abilities more than anything to repair stuffies all the time. Like,
yes. Yes.
Like, I feel like Doc McStuffins half the time in my house, because it's just like,
yes,
Papa, my tiger's got a hole in it, or something along those lines. Like,
no, trash it. We need a new one.
Stop sticking your finger in there and making the hole bigger.
Yeah, and pulling the stuffing out. No,
no, stop it. Yeah,
and it's happened at this house. We haven't even been here like not even 2 years, year and a half or so. And I have 3 times come in and there's something sitting on my desk. I'm like, what is that? And it's a leg that they pulled off one of their stuffed animals.
It's a horse's head.
I didn't want to.
This Godfather? Like, some strings start playing in the background. A little horn.
Yeah. Should I be aware of what's going on? My children gonna hurt me.
I want to get into your room at HomeDadCon and put a stuffed horse's head like this big, just like right in there.
Let's say it's just a small threat. Just a small threat. It's an imaginary threat, like an imaginary horse.
Hey, can I just say, Joe, if you're gonna do that, can you like Can you make sure that you find a stuffed horse, cut it off, sew it up, and have it in
Oh.
your like carry-on backpack so that when you come through TSA, because that would be excellent.
Excuse me, sir. Can you step aside?
You know, what's funny
What the hell is this?
I travel with so much electronical equipment
Oh,
that I
yeah.
get pulled aside every time, even if I got pulled out on my way to Belize because with all of my stuff in the tub. I put everything in 3 tubs and they pulled the tub aside, not the bag. I'm like, sir. And I look over and the guy it was great because somebody else, you know, pulls it for screening and the guy grabs it, goes, yeah, you're okay. He just hands it to me, but I still have to get out of all the line and everything else. And every time. So now it'll just be, instead of thinking I'm doing something because of all the electronical equipment, whatever, they'll think that something racist and they got to pull me aside for the horse's head.
Electronical.
Love it. Hey, speaking of HomeDadCon, before we call this show a wrap, you have been part of a committee here over the past year, 2 years now almost, to raise funds for the scholarship through the beer share. Last year at Phoenix was unbelievable. Just the way that you guys orchestrated it and pulled it off and raised, you know, quite a bit of money. I don't remember the exact number, but it was, I think, well over $3,000, something like that.
It's over $3,000. Yep.
Yeah. So, what should guys be looking for? What's in store for Milwaukee?
All righty. So I gotta transition there. All right. So yeah, beer share. Our second year doing it as a charity, but it has been going on for before I was involved with the con. It's gone from like 7 or 9 beer nerds that all knew about it to I didn't count, but I think all told we probably had 45 or 50 people at different times come through.
Easily.
Yeah, maybe more. I mean, we had a bunch of people that came in and had a taste or come in and have the non-alcoholic options that we had provided by me from getting stuff from 3 Magnets out here in Olympia, Washington, and Matt Strain getting stuff from Athletic. I can tell you for certain 3 Mags will be a part of it again. Athletic, I'm just guessing.
I would imagine Matt's going to probably have some stuff too.
But I'm just guessing. So right off the bat, right there, if you're a non-drinker and you're okay being around beer, we got options for that too, and it's good stuff.
It is surprisingly good.
Thank you. And I didn't even know I was going to be a part of it this year because I thought I wouldn't be even showing up, but I still am. So cool. I love it. Essentially, the beer share is 3 nights. We'll be running it 9 to midnight, and it's in the in a shared space, so you can show up before and you can stay after. But the activity of it will be 9 to 12 every night. We provide the beer. You can bring beer to share if you want to, but we provide a ton of beer from across the country. Some of it bought by ourselves, most of it donated by amazing breweries and brewers.
Yeah.
We also have swag. Some of the best stuff we had last year was swag that guys were fighting over.
Oh, you had some great different like ball caps, man. Hats,
shirts, bottle openers that are like $250 to get. But so we do a raffle for most of it. And then when a few special things, we do auctions. We'll have Mr. David Rogers once again pouring for us. It was impromptu last year because we were spread thin and we didn't realize it. We didn't have enough people and it was so huge. We're like, oh, God.
Well, yeah. How can you? I don't see how you were as prepared as you were. Because, I mean, I went in like one time because I'm not a beer guy. I couldn't see the back of the room.
Nope. Oh,
All
my
I
room?
could see is
Yeah.
I got like these little taster cups of different kind of beers, and like one guy standing and five guys around him, and they're all just taking little, drinks of it and comparing it. And I'm like, I can't even see the windows in here. It was
Yeah, no.
amazing that you got all that pulled together. You guys did great work.
Well, I had an amazing team with me, and they're all on board again. The only difference is hopefully all four will be there this year instead of two that couldn't make it. And
Yeah.
I mean, the two that couldn't make it, they did amazing work, leading up to it and some stuff during from far away. But this year, at least one of them will definitely be there.
I'd say one
the
of them,
two
it's
that
in
weren't.
it's in his home state. He better be there.
Exactly. Exactly. So yes, Paul will be there. We're hoping Brian will be there. But Eric and Quetzal are both scheduled to be there as well. So right there, we've got more people. We've got about 3 more that we've added on. So if everybody
Nice.
shows, we'll have 8 people
Wow.
to help out. So we can double up on a couple of roles. Because last year we got no time during that. And because it was in my room and because not to out anybody, but the conference put the wrong time. People showed up to my room at 7 and left at 2 for 3 nights. I mean, it was fun, but I didn't get to have any, during that, any side time with anybody to chat or, all the other things about HomeDadCon I absolutely love.
Yep.
So
is the shared space for this year, is it like sort of like a lounge type deal, sort of like what Cincinnati was?
Yep.
So it's got a bar type of like setup.
Bigger than
Nice.
Cincinnati.
Wow.
And working on figuring out media because we did it last minute last year. This year we're going to plan it better, but I'm going to have some brewers call in while we're tasting their beer. So maybe they can say a couple things. We can thank them. I love to be able to thank them in real time and be like, this beer is fire and thank you so much. Because they really do, some of these guys I've got, and gals, I have personal relationships with. Some I don't. Some we've interviewed once on the Stay at Home Dad Beercast. But they're just all so generous and giving of what they've got. And especially more than a few of them have been stay-at-home parents.
Nice.
Stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads.
You posted,
well, so there's that one, but there's ones before that maybe they just don't talk about it that much, or it was a year or two. But I come into contact with some brewers that if they don't have that experience, they're still like, wow, we know how hard that was, or my mom was a stay-at-home mom, or whatever. But then occasionally I run into some that do have that lived experience, and they're like, any way I can help, what do you need?
Yeah.
I remember how hard that was. And if this means dads, because now, well, in last year too, all of the proceeds go to the scholarship fund. And when I'm able to tell brewers like, yeah, this is going to send stressed out dads that are working at home, they're like, here, take my stuff. Like, if it's going to help you, what do you need?
That's awesome.
So, yep. And it's 3 nights. You don't have to bring anything. You can bring beer if you want, but you don't have to. And there's no cover charge. There's no fee to get in.
Yeah.
Like, just show up and you're good to go.
I'll tell you, the one thing that I'm looking forward to with it is the fact that because of all the money that's been raised here soon, will be in a couple, I think it's maybe like the beginning of July. We'll be cutting the time off for people that can nominate themselves for the scholarship. And
you're still on the committee, right?
I am, yeah. And so I'm excited. Oh, you, that's right. You are too.
Okay, so, good.
You're on there. Yeah, you and me and Charlie.
Okay, good.
There. So I'm looking forward to us sitting down and being able to award a lot of guys the opportunity to come and really just, that's one of my favorite things to do. And for me, like, I love being able to just call them up, like, and tell them in person over the phone versus like sending them an email, because you get to like experience their like shock and awe of the whole thing, and it's so much fun. But
I want to make one call, but I know it's if this person gets it, you're going to want to make the call, but I want to make one call.
That's fine. We can make it happen. It's all good.
Ooh, cool. You're going to hate me for it. But no, and And so the first year when we didn't plan, and it all started with a tip jar because
Yeah, in Cincinnati.
Paul and I, well, me mainly, wanted to get 3 a.m. hot dogs across the street, and instead of getting $20 in tips, we ended up with like 300.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I looked at him, I'm like, man, we are complete jerks if we take this for food.
You have steak dinner at 3:00 in the morning.
Right. And so he's like, well, we should donate it to the perfect. Well, so then last year it was 3,000. So what, we're going up by tens? Is that 10 times? So what, I need $30,000 this year.
Wow, that's quite the compound.
I'm looking at Don Hudson. I'm looking at, I got a couple people in mind. Bring your checkbooks, gentlemen.
Oh,
I
man.
need help.
Well, regardless, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So
it's going to be a blast.
It's
going to be a blast. Good. And the Milwaukee guys have been great. And the fact that it's in Milwaukee gives me the chance to tell all the Seattle guys that the Milwaukee guys are talking shit. Really good stuff to show up. I had one brewer that was like, oh, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to maybe talk to some of the Cincinnati guys down here and see, since now that I'm actually working in the industry, is be able to go up to some of those guys and see if we can get some things from Cincinnati. I know I'm bringing stuff from our brewery, but
we've got like 2 or 3 guys now that since last year are working in the brewery, like in the beer industry.
Hey.
And it's like, y'all better show up. If I'm not even in the industry and I'm kicking all your butts, like I'm calling your bosses and bragging.
That sounds like a challenge. Okay.
Before, real quick, I do want to bring up the new podcast.
Oh yeah.
I do want to bring just real quick. I don't want to take a lot of you guys' time. I know we've been chatting for a while. Cut whatever you want. Just cut me. I feel like Rocky. Cut me, Brock. Cut me. No, so
Adrian, I got a podcast.
That was good. So I've been doing the Stay at Home Dad Beercast for almost 3 years now. Gonna come up on 3 years in September. And I love podcasting. I love talking to people. I love interviewing. Well, so when I got this new job, I was like, God, what do you think about a podcast for the job? And Nelson goes, I've been wanting to do that for years, but I've never had the manpower and never had folks that, knew what they were doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sitting here like, look at all my great podcasting gear. New board, new everything. So he told me to run with it.
Nice.
And so what we're doing right now, it's the Dads M.O.V.E podcast. Can get it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And we do 2 different kinds of interviews. The first kind is I am interviewing my coworkers that are also doing the same work, because a lot of people don't know what peer work is, and we're trying to demystify it and get that information out there. So I just recorded our second, and that'll be out hopefully at the end of this week, with my coworker Brian. And then the other half, the other type that we're doing that I'm super excited for is, when we've done one of these, is we're going out and we're interviewing folks that that you might come in contact if you're parenting a kid with special needs. And also folks that have a specialty in topics. So next month will hopefully be our IEP episode, where we're going to talk to somebody that works IEPs as a profession.
And is it a once a month podcast?
Twice
a month. Okay.
Twice a month. Well, one of each kind right now.
Okay.
And so that's really become a passion of mine. Eventually I hope to sit down with and ride along with a local fire department to talk about, because they don't respond if there's like crisis, right? Like if it's dangerous, they won't be responding. But I want to talk to folks about, okay, how do you deal with a kiddo that doesn't like to be touched and their finger's broken?
Mhm.
You know, can you roll up on it, or what as a parent, what do I need to tell you if you're going to be rolling up to my place and the sirens are going to freak my kid out?
Mhm.
Are there situations where if I just have this extra knowledge, you know, what are the things that, see, as I told you, I'm amped for it. What are the things that other parents dealing with difficult situations at home would tell me if I knew this the first time?
Yeah.
This is what I could have done. So getting out there and talking to those folks and getting kind of those kinds of answers. So people can be like, oh, hey, this might happen sometime, click, and get that information right there.
No, that's great, man. I'm glad to hear that you're getting a resource like that out there for parents, because that's definitely a necessity. So, man, Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always
for
fun
having me.
It's always fun talking to you. And honestly, like, we'll have all the information that we've spoken about tonight in the show notes, so everybody can find Dad Moves and the podcast. And we'll even put links on there for HomeDadCon. And there's also a way on there for people to just, put money into the scholarship. So there's that option as well. Or if you know somebody that's a brewer and wants to like kick in something for that, like, let Joe know. We'll put his information in there too.
We take
So,
money too.
yeah.
Beer, swag, and money. If you want to give me stuff to sell, I'll find a way to get money for it. But if you just want to give me the money for the scholarship fund, but make sure, beer share.
Yeah, well,
We need the
definitely.
money.
But but thanks for coming on the show, man. And
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see you hopefully in a few months, and we'll talk to everybody else next week. So have a good one.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.